It's Lindley Oz, February the 16th, 2014. And what you're seeing here on the screen are ancient hieroglyphics in an Egyptian temple, obviously in Egypt. And they are real. They're not a hoax. This is a very real hieroglyphic image that you're seeing here. And there's a lot of controversy about these hieroglyphics because of what they appear to be. This one, for example, appears to be a modern day helicopter. Now, I did forget to mention that these hieroglyphics are over 2,000 years old. Some even go so far to say 3,000 years old. This one appears to be a submarine, and these two appear to be some sort of a modern day aircraft. Some people believe this one looks like the Hindenburg, and some people believe this one here appears to be a glider. Now, my take on this has a lot to do with the fallen angels or the Nephilim. And I will show you in the Bible a verse that I used in a recent post to do with the Egyptian bloodline going back to the Nephilim as well. However, a lot of people feel that ancient aliens came and taught these people these things, and or that the Egyptians were carving out, what they had seen when they met with the ancient aliens. And others believe that we came from Mars or that there was life on Mars. Myself personally, I don't attest to any of that. I go back to the Bible and I go back to the extra biblical historical account of Enoch. Now, here's a picture of a distant shot of the close-up we were just looking at. We were looking at this section right here. And let me enlarge that for you. You can see right there. Here's another close-up picture of the ancient, seemingly ancient depictions of aircraft. And here are some side-by-side comparisons. Helicopter, submarine or USO, glider, like that out of Star Wars, and the Zeppelin Hindenburg 1940 airplane. Now we have here the Sakara bird, and that's very interesting.
It's collision with the pyramids, so I'm taking control. I have. Because we haven't got a tailplane on this glider, we have no pitch control. It dives down, rolls over, and then just spirals into the ground.
This fundamental flaw leaves the theory that the Sakara bird flew hanging in the balance.
When an aircraft is flying along, if it's disturbed by the wind or if you're controlling it in any way, you need the tail to keep it on the straight and level. I mean, if you pitch up and there's nothing to stop you or bring you back down, you're just going to keep going up and up and up and stall. Without a tailplane, it makes it very, very difficult for aircraft to fly.
But what if the Sakara bird did in fact once have a tailplane? At the rear of the carving, a segment has broken away at precisely the point where a tailplane would have been fitted.
Okay, so you see right there that they tried to reconstruct something very similar to the Sakara bird. However, right where a tailplane would be, there's a piece missing from the Sakara bird. So obviously, their reconstruction failed the test because it had no tailplane. But what if that's the piece that is missing? And at first they looked at the Sakara bird and it looked like just a bird, but when they looked more closely at it, they suspected that it was some sort of a model of an ancient aircraft. Now we're going to look at, that's not the article I want, this article right here. And this goes into more detail about Dr. Ruth Hover and her husband, who discovered this series of hieroglyphics. And, they took pictures of it, and it talks about how experts can't adequately explain this mystery, but of course they can't even explain how the pyramids were built. how and why the Egyptian civilization appeared fully developed, or why the oldest pyramid, the Great Pyramid, was built with higher technology than later pyramids. However, the Book of Enoch gives us some insight. And I look at the Book of Enoch the same way that Gary Stearman at Prophecy in the News looks at it. I do not hold it to the same standard as I hold the actual books of the Bible, which were Holy Spirit inspired. But just like Gary Stearman, I do look at it as credible biblical history. So this article here is taking us through the Book of Enoch, but I've picked out just a little section here to talk about. It says the fallen angels seized 200 donkeys, 200 asses, 200 sheep, and rams of the flock, 200 goats, 200 beasts of the field from every animal, and from every bird, for experiments in inbreeding with mankind and all types of miscegenation. As a result, monsters were created among all the perversion due to mingling animal seed with mortal women. Some had human heads set on the body of a lion or a serpent or an ox. Others had human bodies topped by the head of one of these animals. Now we can see in some of these pictures here, some of those depictions, okay? You can see the various faces of their gods. You can see they have human bodies, but they have faces of animals, some monster-looking faces, as you can see here clearly. I'm trying to see if I can find an actual photo of some of the hieroglyphics. There's something there. Now that's somebody's reproduction. Let me see. Superheroes. Interesting. That looks like a kid's cartoon. Ah, here we go. Right here you can see their actual ancient Egypt gods, okay? See the face right there? There's another one. The bird, the dog. Then there's some type of art photography, but that still gives you a good idea and to see what different things that we have here that we can see more clearly, you know, what they're purporting to in this article. So it's pretty clear. So what ended up happening is these Nephilim creatures, they were larger in size like a giant, they were frightening looking, and they were more powerful than humans were, and they were highly intelligent, and they began to do evil things. They began to eat humans, torture and torment humans, sacrificing children, and all sorts of horrible things. Now here we have a Bible verse, Jeremiah 32:20. The Lord hath set signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. The evil happening in those days focused heavily in the land of Egypt, for this place became the center for the fallen angels and many of the deeds they did. The strongest of the great giants were divided into two sets of 9. One fallen angel served as the leader of each of these sets, becoming the 10th member. These groups of 10 became known as the builders of the megalithic pyramids. The leaders, who were the angelic fathers of these builders, knew the secrets of the stars and waited for the time when the morning star moved directly north of the earth. Now that's interesting there because the pyramids of Giza, which are 3 at a certain time, line up perfectly with Orion's belt. So let's read that again with that in mind. The leaders, who were the angelic fathers of these builders, knew the secrets of the stars and waited for the time when the morning star moved directly north of the earth. At this time, the weight of the earth was affected, and these two sets of builders built 9 great pyramids in a short time. To the men of the earth, these structures appeared as if they were reaching to the heavens. Along with the monsters made from the miscegenation of animals, the fallen angels took the form of half animal, half man beasts, and with the assistance of their giant prodigy, forced mankind to worship them as gods. So that makes the most sense to me, that the Nephilim were responsible for building these megalithic structures. Now, I showed you a verse recently in an article. Let me go to it here, where the Bible talks about the Egyptians being the Nephilim. It's in Ezra 9, 1 through 3. Now, my take on it would be in the back then in the royal bloodline. It says right here, when these things were done, the leaders came to me saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the peoples of the lands with respect to the abominations of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites, for they have taken some of their daughters as wives for themselves and their sons, so that the holy seed is mixed with the peoples of those lands. Indeed, the hand of the leaders and rulers has been foremost in this trespass. So right there we can see how in ancient Egypt, the Egyptians may very well have been the Nephilim's offspring. So then it begs the question, wrong page, right here. Is it possible then that the Nephilim are responsible for these images? You have to understand, the fallen angels knew great things. They had great knowledge of things that God had given to them when they were holy angels. What they did when they fell from grace, when they fell to Mount Hermon, they took that God-given knowledge for technology and things that far exceed the technology today. They took it and used it for evil, and they're still using it for evil today. So they would have known, how to make a helicopter that we know today. They would have known the technology for a submarine or for aircraft. They knew these things because they had once been godly angels with God-given knowledge. But like I just said, they have abused that knowledge and used it for evil, such as we have GMOs, genetics, modifications of genetics, the crossbreeding that goes on, and things of that nature. Originally, that knowledge they had was God-given. But you can see with the things I just mentioned, how even today that knowledge has been abused and used for evil. So I'm sorry, I don't purport to the idea that aliens came down and had communications with the Egyptians, and the Egyptians were drawing or carving rather what the aliens flew there in or anything like that. That's nonsense to me. I don't purport to the idea that we came from Mars or that Martians came and showed these people how to do that. Also, there's a man named Zachariah Sitchin, and Zachariah Sitchin, very interesting to listen to, and I think he's on to something with a lot of what he says, except I have to discount what he says because he goes on to say that Adam and Eve were not the first humans created by God. The Bible tells us Adam and Eve were the first humans. And so what he says goes against what the Bible says. And that's not good. And I'm going to read a little bit of that here to you. And I forgot to mention these gold trinkets they also found that they thought were insects, but when they examined them more closely, they were actually had the appearance more of aircraft, and they actually built a model identical to one of these pendants, and it flew perfectly with no problem, unlike the one we looked at over here that looked like a bird, the Sakara bird. Okay, so let's go back here. It says a simple observation of these objects may conclude that these were duplications of flying insects of some kind. However, studies tend to show these objects are more like airplane than any kind of insect that is known to us. And it says various puzzling evidence was found in other ancient civilizations, which has intensified this debate further. One of the most intriguing specimens to be found in an area covering Central America and coastal areas of South America are these gold trinkets, estimated to belong to a period between 500 and 800 CE, based essentially on stratigraphy. Since they are made from gold, unfortunately, accurate dating is not possible. Then it goes on with the UFO stuff. It says UFO proponents claim that, like these objects, there are many shocking evidence available in the ruins of Mexican and Egyptian temples. They claim many pyramids and temples are still carrying pictures of strange creatures dressed like astronauts. A gentleman by the name of Eric took his theory further by saying that the existence of pyramids, both Egyptian and Mexican both, are the solid proof of their visits, as he believed that it was impossible for those civilizations to build such enormous and complex structures with their existing technology. And then down here it talks about Zechariah Sitchin, which I mentioned to you just a moment ago. Sitchin attributes the creation of the ancient Sumerian culture to the Nephilim or the Anunnaki, but he calls them a race of aliens from a planet he calls Nibiru. According to Sitchin's interpretation of Sumerian cosmology, there is an undiscovered planet which follows a long elliptical orbit, reaching the inner solar system roughly every 3,600 years. This planet is called Nibiru, the planet associated with Marduk in Babylonian cosmology. Nibiru was the home of a technologically advanced human-like extraterrestrial race called the Anunnaki in Sumerian myth, which Sitchin states are called the Nephilim in Genesis. He asserts that Sumerian mythology reflects this view, though his speculations are entirely discounted by professional scientists, historians, and archaeologists, who note many problems with his translations of ancient texts and with his understanding of physics. So now I've shown you a different ideas and theories based on the mystery of these ancient hieroglyphics. So you decide what it is that you think about it. I've just shown you various information. You can figure it out. You know, see where your mind falls, where your thoughts decide. As for me, I've already given you mine. I believe that um, either the Nephilim carved this on the walls, or the Nephilim, who are known to have taught humanity various mysteries of technology, taught the Egyptians this, and they were writing down on the wall in pictures called hieroglyphics what it is they were learning. So that's my thoughts and that's my beliefs. Again, going back to the fallen angels that are mentioned in the book of Genesis and several other places in the Bible. So you decide what you think. I will be posting the History Channel video in my article, as I believe I mentioned. I'm not sure. I can't remember if I did or not. But that video will be in there too. It tries to purport more along the lines of aliens. Again, I've given you my opinion of that as well. So thanks for listening, and God bless you.